Hi, this is Elizabeth Clare Brewington with Brightside Global Trade. We are a multi channel magazine, and if you're watching this video and something inspires you, make sure that you write us a comment. We'd like you to subscribe and hit the bell button. Every month, we're doing a conference, and this month, because it's Women History Month, we are talking all about women. And I am so proud, so honored, and I actually have a tear in my eye because I have somebody that has actually survived and triumphed over fear and as you would say, your worst nightmare. And she has gone through a lot, and her book is amazing. It's called Found, and Ramona and I have reviewed this book. You can read the review on our website as well. So, hello, Michelle. You have inspired us, and you couldn't have come at a better time because we're doing all things women.
Oh,
So,
thank
tell
you.
us,
Thank you. It's great to be
yeah,
here. Thank you so much for the
yes.
opportunity.
So, tell us about today. I mean, what does today look like? And then we'll go into the book and talk about the past. Yeah.
Well, today is a beautiful day. Every day for me is beautiful because I'm alive. So, I was found, just like what the book is called. But certainly I have very busy days. I actually, because I was found, I actually spend my days serving and giving back because I am grateful for every single day and giving back to women who maybe have survived similar experiences or have survived some kind of trauma. So that is my gift that I like to give others just through my experience. So yeah, it's been a busy day, like every day. So
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, when we think about women and we think about these are not small statistics, about being abducted, about being raped, about domestic violence, about human trafficking. I mean, these are just not small things. This has become like a big thing. It's almost like a pandemic in itself. So
I
I
couldn't
wanted
agree
to,
more. I could not agree
you
more. And
know,
that's what I say.
and
It's an epidemic. Yes. Yeah.
it is. So let's dive into the book, and looking at this picture of this car, I cannot even imagine how you got hit on your head, put in your own car. I mean, this whole thing sounds, and this is America, so this is not a developing country, or this is not something that happened in an unusual neighborhood. So tell us as best you can, and we can go as slow as you want on the interview if it's hard, but tell us in your own words um, about the abduction, if you can talk about it.
Sure. I'll kind of give you the small version of it. But yes, the front cover of the book is an actual crime scene photo. So that is where I was found out of the trunk of my car from, so kind of a little backwards, from an off duty detective that listened to his gut and listened to God nudging him to go drive around. So I was actually abducted from walking up to my front door. I was hit on the head with a handgun and knocked down to the ground and, taken by three men, and they all had handguns as my hands were tied and I was blindfolded and gagged and then thrown into the trunk of my car. And, you know, as I was in the trunk of the car, I managed to get my hands free and unblindfolded and gagged myself and tried to search for a way out. And I think when, my book talks about a news story and how you never realized that you would be headlines of the news. But, um, you know, thinking about that and looking back on that and being in that trunk of the car and getting my hands free and um, trying not to make a noise because I was too afraid making a noise in the trunk of the car that they would come back and kill me. And so I tried to be very quiet. In those times, you think of all the things
Yeah.
that you might do to get out. So I was trying to be very quiet and I was going to do anything that they asked me to do because, of course, before they gagged me, I begged for my life. And so in the trunk of my car, getting my hands free, I did search for a way out. And I realized every time they hit the brake, the light came on in the trunk. And so I tried to search for a way out. I could not find any way out of that trunk, even looking for a trunk release. And and not finding a way out, I prayed to God that he would save my life so I could tell my mom I loved her one more time. And that's when the car stopped and they got me out of the car. And of course, were angry that I got my hands free. So they
Yeah.
tied my hands tighter behind my back and dragged me down this alleyway
Ah,
into a garage. And they all, there's no easy way in saying it, and not telling my story doesn't give honor and truth to those who have been through things similar or through some type of trauma. But they all, took turns
yeah.
raping
Oh
me
my
and beating
gosh.
me in every which way they could figure out. So I lost my life in that garage that night. And then I was, thrown back into the trunk of my car, and I went unconscious. And I came to when I heard this voice, and this voice was different. And so I thought, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to kick on the trunk of my car. And that's when I was found by an off-duty detective that happened to go home because he was exhausted. It was, late at night. I was taken from my home around 9:30. So it was much later than that. And he went home. He usually drives around, and this particular night he was too exhausted. So he went home, and he felt this nudge. And he said, no, I'm not going back out. And he felt this other nudge. And he said, I'm not going back out. It was that third nudge that he goes, okay, I've got to go back out. When you have a
Yeah.
choice, and he
I
says
know.
that it's God, and you have a choice, and you have a choice too, which way you're going to turn, right or left. And God directed him to turn right and back down a
Ah,
back road in back of a restaurant, and saw these two guys at the back of the restaurant that took off running to my car that was parked in a wooded lot. So therefore, that's the
yeah.
photo that you
Yeah.
see on the front of my book cover. So, the nightmare really began once that trunk opened. And that's what my book is mostly about. It talks about my story in more detail than I'm sharing right now. And the detail somewhat matters, because it does give honor and respect. In writing it, you wonder, how detailed do you need to be? And if you're not telling the truth, if you're not being for real, that doesn't honor other people that have been through it. And so that is
No.
why I wrote it. I wrote it to show what is possible, that there is hope within your reach, no matter how dark your days are. Because when I say that that's, the nightmare really began once that trunk opened, because I was in true and total denial. This really didn't happen to me. This is a nightmare. This really didn't happen. And I just remember I kept opening and closing my eyes, and it did really happen. But I lived in that denial and fear and anger for several years after. And it was really, I tried to work around it over and under because it was too painful to work through. And that is something very difficult to describe to other people who haven't had similar experiences in life. And I think there are a lot of little nuggets in my book that people can be affirmed by, whether you're going, no matter what the trauma is that you're going through. It's those dark days when you feel so alone and so isolated through those. And that's where I take people in my book. I want it to be affirming to those who have been through, some kind of trauma, so that they know they're not alone, and they know that there is hope on the other side. But it's about going through it. You can't go under or over or around it. It's about going through it.
It is. It really, really is. And I really, I applaud you for writing this book. I think this is something that, I mean, every woman and man should really read. Uh, but now, 20 years. Why did it take 20 years for you to want to write it so many years later? Is it because it was over? You had, gone through everything, and you were
Yeah.
ready. Yeah.
Well, good question. It really wasn't the first thing. I never thought that I would talk about it or write a book. It's certainly the first 10 years. And this book took me 10 years to write. And it took me 10 years to write because, number one, I've made a career of my life in serving others, as we were talking earlier, and serving victims of crime and abuse. So that has been my last 20-year career. And so that's kept me really busy. But what I realized in that career and in my own self, I took that 10 years to, go through the judicial system, really learn about myself. I had to choose the best ways of coping for me, which was journaling and challenging myself to go to the grocery store and actually allow somebody to stand behind me in the line. All of those things were very difficult for me. It was very difficult for me to learn how to live life. So it's almost like going through therapy and putting one foot in front of the other and learning how to breathe and be the new me, because I would no longer know who I would have been, without this trauma in my life. So I had to relearn how to live and what was best for me. And I took the time, which I didn't realize it then, but to really get to know myself and learn about myself. So it wasn't until I was asked to speak to a very small group. And I did it because I thought I can just check this off my list. And it was about 10 people. And it was alarming how many people were affected by something in their life, by somebody hurting them, by some kind of trauma. And then I started to go, wow, this is much bigger than what I thought. And then I got asked to speak somewhere else because I thought, actually, I'm checking that off my list. I'm done. I said it. It's out there. And I did take the opportunity to speak again, and it was going to be to 80 people. And it ended up being 400, which I didn't realize. But it was 2 hours later. People are waiting in line to talk to me, to share their story with me, from 18 years old to 80. And I was like, somebody has to utilize their voice to make a change here. People are so shamed and shut down after trauma that I thought, maybe this is my calling. Maybe this is how I help, and it just ultimately started coming. And people had told me, you should write a book, you should write a book. And so I started just thinking about it and writing some things down and talking to some people. And then it happened. I started writing it, and I had some people helping me and had it written and let it sit for a few years because it really wasn't where I wanted it to be. And then I got in touch with, I was introduced to another person. And if you take away one thing from this interview, take those chances. Take those chances to connect with people, because I think sometimes we think, oh yeah, thanks for connecting me. And then we don't make that connection because we don't know what it's going to be. We think it's not going to be something. But I was connected to Emily Sutherland, who is my co-author. We clicked and we sat and we wrote and we took what was already written and we just got it done like within 6 to 8 months. And, Morgan James accepted our book, and here we are today with the book. It just happened. It's, and I prayed a lot. I'm a very faithful person. And, I wanted to write it for the right reasons. And it's about helping others. If I can help one person through this book, then I've done what I feel like God has, set out to do within me, because I just want to serve. I just want to serve others. I want to help. If I can share my experience with somebody else, that they can be affirmed, because that's what I needed. I needed that affirmation. I needed to know that I wasn't alone. And I couldn't find that person out there to help me know that, to know that there was hope within reach. So that's really how it all came to be. It wasn't it wasn't a straight line. It was kind of a winding road, but we got there and did it. And I've had great feedback, and I am so very grateful that it is helping, others and inspiring and providing some hope.
One of the things that when we reviewed the book, we found that it was a valuable resource, and you've really taken the time to put resources in the book. So it's not just, as you put it in your own words, it's a gift that you've given to anybody that's trying to survive and or cope, but at any stage of a situation like this one. And I think that you've defined hope, and it has a happy ending. So I think here you are telling us a story, and this is the Women History Month, and you are one of the women we're proud to know.
Thank
and
you.
so thank you. for this interview and thank you for this book. We'll make sure that the link is available at the bottom of this video. So if you want to order this book, it's just come out and it's a good read during the pandemic. And we have Brightside Club, a group of book lovers. So this is a great book for us all to read and talk about. But you have really inspired us, and I will make sure that this link is available and our review is out as well. So please make sure you read it. Thank you, and watch us on brightsideglobaltrade.org.